The terror peaked one night when a large tree in front of the cabin split in half, as if torn by unseen hands. A strong sulfuric smell filled the air, and the forest animals scattered in all directions, as though sensing the evil now fully awake. In the dense forests of Vermont, the Saunders family thought they had found the perfect escape. An old wooden cabin, surrounded by towering pines and moss-covered rocks, promised peace and isolation from the chaos of the city. Tom, Laura, and their 2 children were eager for a fresh start, unaware that the solitude they craved carried a hidden price. The first days were almost idyllic. The children ran through the woods, collecting sticks and leaves, while Tom and Laura cleaned and repaired the cabin. During the daylight hours, the house seemed peaceful, even cozy. The wind whispered through the trees and birdsong echoed like a lullaby. But when night fell, the atmosphere shifted. At first it was subtle. Soft footsteps on the roof, knocks on the walls, whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. Emily, the youngest, woke one night crying, "Mom, someone's in my room." Laura rushed in, but the room was empty. Only a cold so intense it seemed to pierce bone remained. Tom tried to rationalize it. "It's probably just a dream, honey." But it was no dream. The next morning, the family dog growled at empty spaces in the woods, hackles raised, sensing something unseen. Later that night, Laura felt eyes on her while she prepared dinner. Shadows moved unnaturally across the kitchen, and a chill crawled up her spine. The occurrences escalated. Lights flickered without cause. Appliances turned on by themselves. Objects vanished and reappeared in impossible locations. The worst was the constant feeling of being watched, an invisible presence breathing just behind them, always observing. One early morning, Emily screamed, "Don't touch me!" Tom ran into her room, and what he saw froze him in terror. The mattress lifted slightly, as if invisible hands were trying to pull his daughter off it. Laura rushed to her side, but a thud reverberated through the hallway wall, leaving deep scratches as if claws had raked the wood. They understood then that this was no imagination, no child's prank. Something malevolent had entered their home. The family decided to stay together in the living room that night, fearing what might happen if they separated. At midnight, a sudden icy chill enveloped the room, extinguishing the fireplace flames and plunging the house into darkness. Then came the whispering, low and guttural, repeating their names over and over, sounding at once close and distant, like it was both inside the house and inside their minds. Tom turned on every light and searched the rooms. There was no one, yet marks were left behind, deep black scratches on the walls as if invisible claws had attacked in anger. The family huddled together, trembling, realizing something non-human stalked them. The following days became a living nightmare. By day the cabin seemed normal, but at night the noises and shadows returned, stronger and more deliberate. Emily began speaking to herself, murmuring words in languages they didn't understand, phrases that made their blood run cold. "They're coming for us, don't let them in," she said, her voice distant and fearful. One afternoon, Tom ventured into the forest to investigate, but felt an invisible force pushing him back, forcing him to return to the cabin. Every attempt to leave the property felt futile. The presence seemed to expand, shadowing their every step. The terror peaked one night when a large tree in front of the cabin split in half, as if torn by unseen hands. A strong sulfuric smell filled the air, and the forest animals scattered in all directions, as though sensing the evil now fully awake. Laura began feeling the presence as a physical force. It brushed against her, breathed over her neck, leaving cold marks on her skin. Emily no longer slept. She would scream and cry, sometimes frozen, staring at nothing, speaking to something only she could see. The family realized they could not face this alone. But who do you call when the force hunting you cannot be explained by science, logic, or reason? All they could do was stay together, prepare, and hope someone could guide them to safety before the presence consumed them completely. The nights in the cabin grew unbearable. Each evening brought new horrors, and the Saunders family teetered on the edge of despair. Emily could no longer sleep alone, and Tom and Laura struggled to maintain composure. Every room seemed alive. Doors slammed on their own, lights flickered, objects vanished and reappeared, and a cold presence pressed in on them relentlessly. One stormy night, Emily began screaming inhumanly, "No, go away!" Her eyes were wide with terror, her voice shifting between a child's tone and a deep, guttural growl that was almost human, but chilling. Laura rushed to her, only to be hurled backward by an unseen force that slammed her against the wall. Tom, shaking with fear, remembered the old books he had found in the town library about exorcisms and protective rituals. He realized they couldn't wait any longer. They had to confront the presence, armed with crucifixes, holy water from the nearest church, and their desperate faith. They prepared the cabin for battle. Symbols of protection were drawn on doors and windows, and they began praying aloud together, louder and stronger than ever before. At midnight, chaos erupted. The presence that had haunted them for weeks manifested in the room. Black shadows swirled violently, striking walls and tossing furniture. A deep, resonant voice echoed through the cabin. "You cannot save her. She belongs to us." Emily floated slightly above the floor in the center of the room, her body twisting unnaturally. "Stop!" Tom shouted, holding the crucifix toward her. It glowed brightly, sending a wave of heat through the room as the invisible force shrieked and writhed in pain. Laura grabbed her daughter's hand and prayed with all her strength. "You are not alone, Emily. We are with you. God protects us." For a brief moment, silence fell. The furniture stopped moving, the shadows froze, and Emily gasped, reclaiming a moment of her humanity. But the battle was far from over. The entity launched a final assault. An invisible force dragged Tom across the floor, throwing up dust and debris, while the demonic voice mocked his faith. Laura, desperate, leapt toward him, holding him close and continuing to pray, ignoring the pain that burned her arms. Then something impossible happened. Emily screamed with her own clear voice, "Get out of my house! Get out of me!" A faint light began emanating from her, pushing back the darkness. The shadow that had terrorized them twisted violently, emitting a sound that was part roar, part wail before finally vanishing, leaving the cabin in stunned silence. The family collapsed to the floor, trembling, exhausted, but alive. The cabin appeared normal once more, though the faint smell of sulfur lingered and the chill remained. Emily cried in her mother's arms, finally regaining her childlike voice, while Tom embraced both, grateful to survive. The Saunders never lived alone in that cabin again. They moved shortly afterward, but the memories never left them. Locals say the cabin remains empty to this day, and the trees in the surrounding forest lean strangely, as if still sensing the presence that once dwelled there. Months later, Laura wrote in her journal, "I never believed in the supernatural until we lived it. Sometimes I think we survived not only because of our faith, but because something inside us refused to give in. The woods remain dark and silent, but we know never to look back." Tom later admitted in interviews that the experience changed his perspective entirely. "You learn there are forces we cannot understand, things beyond logic or science, but you also learn that love and faith can face them, even if it comes at a great cost." Emily grew up remembering every detail, though she never spoke of the ordeal outside the family. The one lesson the Saunders family carried forever was clear: evil, when real, can hide in the most peaceful places, and the fight to survive is not only physical, but spiritual and emotional.
If you want to uncover more hidden files, subscribe, turn on the bell, and stay with the Midnight Archives. You've been watching the Midnight Archives. The next file unlocks soon.